Oh, Professor Lynch, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. What's up?
We're actually doing a series called Five Things You Don't Know About Me. Do you have maybe a few minutes? I catch you at a good time?
Oh, sure. I'm just catching up on the latest issue of our professional
Oh,
journal,
okay.
FAR. So, sure.
It's
What
great
would
to
you like
see
to know?
you. This is like a conference room.
Yeah, this is our conference room for the College of Professional Studies, and it's a nice, quiet place
I
to sort of
know.
hang out in.
I know this is kind of off the top of your head, but maybe do you have five things we might not know about you?
I think I might.
Well, maybe we'll start with what do you teach at
Okay.
HVU?
I teach public administration. It's a master's degree, and we also have an undergraduate major in public administration. But I teach in mostly the graduate program. I'm an associate professor, and I love it. I love the students, and I certainly love the subject. The first thing about me, I'm a dual citizen, so I was born in the United States, but I grew up in Canada. I grew up in Montreal.
So that's one thing I certainly didn't know. How about number two?
Number two, well, I was never the best student, and so I didn't go straight to college from high school. I sort of bounced around working and eventually ended up in Boston.
Okay.
And I opened a chocolate and pastry business that was
Oh,
called the
cool.
Chocolate Box. And I guess we had that business for about 13 or 14 years. And of those years, I think we were best of Boston for 10 of them. Life throws wild curves at you sometimes. And so my personal life sort of fell apart. So I had to start over. And in starting over, I decided to go back to school.
Okay,
And-
so this could be number three.
Right. So I enrolled in the College of Public and Community Service at the University of Massachusetts, which was an experimental kind of program. It was for adult learners, and you could register for as many. It was competency based, and so you could register for as many courses as you liked. So I managed to accelerate through that program pretty fast. I think I had everything done in the first 3 semesters.
3 semesters.
And so in my fourth
incredible.
semester, my second year, I had only incompletes to finish up. They had a very generous incomplete policy, and so I could finish the incompletes over the Christmas break or the summer break. And so I was very lucky to be able to do that. But it was a wonderful experience, and I fell in love with learning. And so from there, I went straight through to the PhD.
So really, it's never too late to go back to school.
Never.
I mean,
It's never too late to shuffle the deck and deal yourself a new hand. And
fantastic.
you just have to, it's sometimes hard to get your head wrapped around, but once you're determined to do it, it works. The fourth thing, while I had the chocolate box, you can't be overweight selling chocolate. So I took up running, and I started with a challenge of running the New York Marathon.
Oh, that's a very difficult one.
And so I ran the New York Marathon several times, but I was never very fast. I think the first one I did, it took me 10 hours. It was pitch dark. And the winner and the last person were going to be interviewed on the Today Show. I was with two other girlfriends, and and there was one fellow from Chicago, and we just decided it would be too embarrassing to be on the Today Show as the last people
person.
in the race.
Yeah.
So we got in the chutes at the finish line in our sights, and we mustered every ounce of strength that we could to sprint. Well, I wouldn't call it a sprint, to go faster.
Right.
And we sort of left him behind, even though the 4 of us had been sort of chatting and walking and chatting and walking for miles. So he was on the Today Show the
He was
next
on
day, and
Today
he was
Show.
beaming. He was so happy.
That's a great number 4. What would be the last
Well, my
thing?
last thing is we vacationed in Mexico one summer. So we drove down to San Miguel de Allende, which is a small town in the central state of Guanajuato. We fell in love with the place and bought land on our vacation. So we would drive from Louisiana to, it was a 2-day drive. It was a 1 day to get to the border and then to McAllen, and then another day, 500 miles to get into San Miguel. So we only went there for the first 2 years. We only went there for the Christmas break and for summer. And then a job opening came for the University of Texas in the Rio Grande Valley. And my husband said, why don't you apply for it? And so I went for the interview, and I called him from Texas, and I said, why would you ever want me to take this job? So he said, because it'll only be 1 day drive to get to San Miguel. So that's what we did.
Wow.
I got the job in Texas. He commuted back to Louisiana for the last 2 years before he retired. And then we moved full-time to San Miguel, and we rented this house that was a gigantic, bright purple house. We stayed there for a long time and loved it. And then at a certain point, it just felt right that we needed to come back. And so we were rather spoiled because of the temperature and everything else. I wasn't going back to Canadian winters, and we didn't like the heat in the southern United States, and so we settled on Hawaii.
On Hawaii, wow.
And so that's how we came to
What a journey, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow, it's really great to learn about your life. I mean, it's amazing. That is 5 things, yeah.
And I bet you didn't know any of them.
I didn't know any. And I hope you have a great semester, and aloha.
Aloha, thank you so much.